Hi, and welcome back to the Coffee Chat Etc. podcast. I'm your host, Tracy Cox, and in this episode, I'm joined by the amazing Peshka for a powerful conversation about healing, reinvention, and why we should never settle for a life of blah. Together, we dive into trauma, self-worth, and the importance of moving beyond what Anne affectionately calls the fluffernutter sessions and into a life filled with purpose, freedom, and joy. If you are affected by any of these issues, please remember that support is available and don't hesitate to reach out for help. So grab yourself a coffee, get comfy, and let's get started. And today we have another inspirational lady in the podcast studio, and it's Anne all the way from Florida. Good morning, good afternoon, Anne. How are you?
Good morning. Good morning for me.
Yeah,
Thank you for
good.
having me. I appreciate it.
No problem at all. And how's the weather over there at the moment?
Sunny and flawless right now. It's
Oh,
just
don't tell me that.
amazing. Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
perfect.
Oh, great. And you were born and bred in Florida, weren't you? So
I was
you've
born
lived
in
there most of
Tampa.
your life?
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
born in Tampa, but no, I did not live here. My father was in the Air Force, so we moved all over the place. We just
Right.
moved all
Okay.
over the U.S., overseas. We lived in Japan. So I never stayed, where I was born.
Oh, wow. And what made you go back there?
There was a couple of reasons that I came back. Let's see, it's probably been 8 years now that I've been back
Mhm.
here. The majority of my family is down here. It
Okay.
is 80 degrees and flawless in the winter. Huge part of
Sure.
it. And tax advantages, a beautiful place to have a business, beautiful place to live like I'm on vacation, really.
Amazing. Good.
Yeah.
And you've got quite a good business, haven't you? Do you want to tell
I
the
do.
audience a
I
little bit
do.
about it?
I started a business in real estate when I was in my mid 50s and had zero experience in it, but I was living a life that wasn't very satisfying or very happy or very fulfilling. And I just decided it was actually, I call it my COVID shift, if you would.
Okay.
It was an opportunity when COVID came. I just saw the opportunity that, this is like do or die. Like I'm changing this up. I'm not living this life anymore. And I, got my license, and my little dog and I moved to a new little town, where we didn't know anybody, and we started a brand new business in my mid 50s. And, I love to share that story because I think that, for so long, so many of us kind of get caught up in the drudgery of life and kind of feel like, well, this is what I'm stuck doing. I've done it for so long. I'm too old to start over. And,
Yeah.
I just love that topic because, you're never, there's age is just a denomination. It's not
So
a,
tell us the story that led up to that point then, Anne. What was it
yeah,
that kind of got you so, not low, but I suppose so to the ground where you
yeah.
went, right, this has got to change?
Yeah, exactly. So, I had been living in another part of the country, and I got married when I was in my mid 40s for the first
Okay.
time. It was the first time I got married. So
Yeah.
that was new. And, of course I had every intention of it, lasting forever and being amazing and wonderful. But I was still going through a journey of, transformation, if you would. And I was still processing a lot of things that I had, experienced at a younger age. And I wasn't
Okay.
quite in a good spot to really be a great partner, to be a great spouse. And the
Okay.
person that I married also had that same framework. So together, what we were was, we were status quo. You know what I mean? We
Sure.
weren't living a life of fulfillment. We weren't waking up in the morning going, wow, this is amazing to be alive. Like we were just kind of going, all right, well, what do we do now? And
Okay.
it just kind of felt very blah to me. Then all of a sudden I just decided, you know what, I'm going to die like this. Like I got pretty depressed and I got pretty, I was in a space of hopelessness again. And I had spent too many years like that. And I'm like, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to need to do it now. So
Can
I
I just stop
decided,
you there a second, Anne? Do
yeah.
because you said the word helplessness, do you think that was something that you learned as a child? Because there's the learned helplessness that you kind
Oh
of go
yeah.
into that to try and get your needs met as a child.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was, and I
Okay.
realize now that was my default. My
Okay. Yeah.
default was, well, things happen to me. That was my
Yeah.
default. So I'm in an unhappy marriage. This happened to me, which is
Yeah.
silly, because it didn't happen to me. These are called choices.
Sure.
So, I sat there and I'm like, I'm either going to die like this, unhappy and unfulfilled, or I'm going to get off my butt and do something about it. So, I decided to get my real estate license. I had no reason why. It was just something different. It was just to help me feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah.
Got that. And 2 weeks later, COVID happened. And, I
Oh,
remember sitting there once again in that helplessness and feeling like I can't breathe. The world's falling apart. Everybody's controlling all of these things around me. I've got to wear a mask. I can't go to this restaurant. I have to walk in a direction in the grocery store. That is not me.
no.
That is one thing I know about me. My rules are my rules.
Yeah.
And I sat there and it didn't take me long. I think I sat in my little puddle of mud for a couple of weeks,
Yeah.
listening to the news and people drone on about all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I'm doing it. I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
done. And I looked at my husband at the time and I'm like, you know what? I'm sorry, but we're not happy and you're
Yeah.
not happy. I'm not happy. We're done. And of course that didn't go well. He didn't want that to happen
Of
because you're
course.
comfortable.
Yes. Yes.
We get comfortable in our stuff, which is so ridiculous. I was comfortable. We were married for over 8 years. I was
Yeah.
comfortable in the blah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
ridiculous. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
finally I'm like, done.
I think you make excuses every day, don't you? And you kind of in your
100%.
head, it reasons with you like, and I don't know if your belief systems come in because when I was growing up, especially in the 70s and the 80s, it was stupid things like one day your prince will come and one day you're going to get married and you'll be married for the rest of your life. And that kind of goes around your head. And my belief system is you'll only get married once and that will be it. And I
Yeah.
suppose for people that are unhappy, your brain then starts navigating a way where you can stay in that comfort and
Mhm.
pretend that it's going to get better. But great for
Exactly.
you. How courageous to say, yeah, I'm done.
Well, you kind of brought me back to the helplessness topic, right? Because that's
Yeah.
really where I was. I felt helpless to make this marriage work. I felt helpless to have a fulfilled life. I was working a part-time job for a major airline, which I loved, right? But I wasn't impacting anybody. I wasn't
Okay.
making a huge difference other than if you were an irate passenger and your flight canceled. I
Right.
have the ability to understand that fear is the basis of your anger. And I was
Ah,
really,
okay.
really good at helping people in the airport go from extremely upset, fearful to like, okay,
Yeah.
you know what? I can move through this. I love that. And that taught
Yeah.
me something. That is a
Yeah. Yeah.
gift.
Yeah.
That is a gift
Definitely.
that I gained recycling trauma that happened to me as a child. That became one of my gifts. So as I moved through this new chapter of my life, and here I am, right? I'm in my mid 50s with my little dog, who's my soulmate, and we're in this new place. I have no idea who anybody is, and I don't even know anything about real estate. And I've got people telling me, why would you do that? There's so much competition. Oh, do you have
Yeah.
any idea how hard it is to start a business in real estate? And I was
Of
like, who
course.
are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Seriously. And I realized my entire life, I had let people and my own voices
Yeah.
donate to my future.
Yeah. And impact your decisions
Didn't
and
make any
choices.
sense.
Yeah.
So I was just like, no, you know what? It doesn't matter if there's 250,000 realtors in my one county. I have zero competition. And the reason is there's only one Ann.
Yeah. I
There's
love
only
that.
one me. And I really, I just really to put that out there to people that are listening, like we all have a gift. Every single one of us has a gift. And when we can sit down and turn that noise off, turn off the
Yeah.
other people and change the soundtrack that we have in our own head and really get real with the gifts that we have. Oh my God. Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And do you think as well, Anne, part of the trauma that you went through as a child gave you this driving force within to say, I need to give, I know that I'm here for something better? Because I do. I had that. And I've always known there's been a driving force where I knew that I could help others. And do
Yeah.
you think then from your childhood that that impacted on your drive and the end where you said, actually, I'm done. This is it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it definitely did, right? So once again, like I chose to look at the trauma that I experienced as a child, and this is a lot of work to get to this process, but eventually, I chose to look at this as a gift that brought
Yeah.
me to a space that I would have never arrived
Okay.
without it, right?
And
So
what modality, sorry,
it,
what
oh no, go
modalities
ahead.
did you use to help you get to that point?
Oh, I mean, it started. It's there's so many different modalities, and what it started with was me sitting there believing maybe I wasn't junk. And I got to tell you,
Wow.
you can go see a therapist, you can pick up a book, you can do all, but unless you believe you are worth fighting for, the book is going to go in one eye and out the other.
Yeah.
You have
That's an
to
interest
really believe that.
That's an interesting take because I think in my path of healing and maybe in some of the other listeners' path of healing, it's taken me a long time to get here. But
Hmm.
each step that I took, each book, each therapist,
Yeah.
each modality, each seminar, each workshop helped me get to that self-belief stage and that self-love stage, which
Right.
I found was like really, really empowering.
Right.
Um, but that's taken a lot of time, like you said.
But I really, I love to, impress upon this too, is that we don't want to look at it like, oh, great. So if I want to have a beautiful life like that, it's going to take a lot of time. What we
True.
have to understand is that is the most amazing time. My growth and my journey was a path I wouldn't trade. We
No.
live in a world right now of instant gratification. We want to press a button or we want AI to fix stuff now so we can fast forward through our life. We're missing the magic.
Yeah,
We're
I
missing the
agree.
magic. The magic is in those times where you sit and you look in the mirror and you do the tough stuff, right? So I
Yeah,
had to sit and I didn't, when I say I had to, right? Nobody stood over me and said, you have to do this. I knew I was going to be worth it. And
yeah,
that meant you're going to have to work on yourself. So if my body is 400 pounds and I feel like I'm worth being 150, I'm not going to just press a button and get to 150.
of
So
course.
there's going to be some work involved, right? But the
Yeah.
work that I'm going to do, I'm going to feel better every single day, and every step is going to elevate me. So, when you're sitting in front of the mirror and you're doing the tough work, like talking to yourself, changing the soundtrack in your mind to, I am an amazing person versus I screw everything up. I mean, listen to that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that journey of the work, as long as it may have taken me, was the most beautiful journey I've ever been on. And I wouldn't
What was
trade
the
it for the world.
what was the hardest thing you had to overcome when you were
The
doing that
soundtrack.
work? Yeah.
Never, ever will I forget that. That was the most excruciatingly painful thing
Oof.
ever. And soundtrack is actually a book by John Acuff, one of my all-time
Ah,
favorite
okay.
authors. And I,
Yeah.
I will never be able to praise this book enough. Soundtracks is the
Right.
name of it. So this is way before, I think John Acuff was probably in kindergarten when I had a therapist who was very wise. And she said, Anne, with the loop that's going on in your head is so ingrained, you have to change the loop. You've
Hmm.
got to get down to the beginning of the loop, the voice that you hear in here, and you've got to erase it and change it. So
Yeah.
this is back in the day where we had little hand recorders. Okay. So
Okay. Yeah.
she gave me a hand recorder because I didn't have enough money to buy one. And she said, I want you to go home and I want you to write down 20 things that are positive about yourself.
Yeah.
That alone was painful. I
Yeah.
didn't even know 20 things that might relate to me in a good way. So that was hard. And then I come back with my list. And then she says, now I want you to go home and I want you to record the list. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is so hard. And then the next week I come in, she said, I want you to play that recording. To
Wow.
this day, I can feel that.
Yeah. 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 What
That
did you feel
was
when that was playing?
This is
Oh,
my voice
yeah.
telling me I'm not junk.
Wow.
Big
Yeah.
deal.
Very
Big
big
deal. I will
deal.
never,
To
ever forget that.
to hear it coming from your own voice. And then, because they say that if you keep telling yourself something, you will become that person. And
Correct.
yeah, fake it till you
Everything
make
that we
it.
say is absolutely true, right?
Yeah.
Everything that we say. So when we wake up in the morning and we stub our toe and we spill our coffee and we're late for work and we say to ourselves, oh my God, this day just sucks. I can't believe this is terrible. Well, the universe goes, oh yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for more of. Boom, here
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
What we say is true.
Absolutely. And I think Tony Robbins is a really good mentor for me
Love him.
as I was growing up actually over years. And his was oh gosh, I have to make sure that I get it the right way. Where focus goes, energy flows.
Energy flows.
Yeah,
Exactly. And it's
definitely.
about getting in state. You know, I
Yeah.
learned a lot from Tony. I listened to Tony. My kids probably to this day can recite Tony. They lived
Oh,
with those
really?
cassettes. We had cassettes back then. Cassettes
Yeah, me
over and
too.
over and over again in my car. Over and over and over again in my car.
Yeah.
I've been to his seminars. I've been to him. What he taught me, the most important thing I learned from him is state.
Yeah.
What is your state?
Yeah.
Staying in
No.
state, you know?
Yeah, and he's really good. I actually did his training
Yeah.
for coaching, and he does strategic intervention, and it's all based around the human needs, which are very similar to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I base everything now. I can tell a person about what needs they need meeting, the way that they act, the way that they
Yeah.
are, and it's a really good way because we live our life trying to get our needs met. And
Yeah.
if we're in survival mode, if we're in, a state of anxiety, we're doing that because we need something at that
Right.
point because we're not getting our needs met. So
Right.
it really opened up a few doors for me to kind of do that. But yeah, I
Yeah.
listened to the cassettes as well
Yeah.
and the
Yeah. It's
DVDs.
awesome. I mean, I still to this day, I don't stop. Because I enjoy it so much. It is my lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
This is how I choose to live my life by plugging into podcasts constantly, by
yeah,
reading constantly, by attending seminars constantly.
yeah,
Anything that I can do to help bring me to a state meditation. I mean, all of these different things. It is a practice because I
absolutely.
happen to be a human trying to be a being.
Yes,
And
rather
the
than the doing.
human is surrounded by chaos.
Yeah,
The being
absolutely.
is perfectly cool. Like you put me with a tree and a blade of grass and a bird, I'm being all day long. But as
Yeah,
soon
yeah,
as I have to come into this human world, oh, I need some backup.
yeah. And I would agree as well. And I think that constant need for, what's the word? A kind of vibrational energy.
Hmm.
It changes your state, and that's what you're
Sure.
doing. Yeah. All of
Exactly.
this newness, the growth, the learning, it all brings you up to a high vibrational state. And I think we were just talking about that before we went on the podcast, that some people don't see the things that you see because they haven't done the work that you've done,
Yeah.
because they haven't read the books, because they don't have the expansive mind where they can look at different things and different learnings or teachings,
Yeah.
which puts them into a different state, because your energy is very high. And I can tell that, by looking at, I can see you on the video, but
Yeah.
I can always tell somebody who's not so into the growth and who has a very structured way of thinking,
Right.
that doesn't kind of bring that in. But yeah, I think
Right.
the teachings and the learnings are really good for that.
It is. It is. And you know what? Change can happen quickly,
In a
right?
heartbeat.
Dramatic change is going to take some time, right? Back to the 400, pound body, but
Sure.
change can happen instantly.
I agree.
What that really was the beauty that I found. And I also, as I was navigating through, these different therapists and the different things that they offered, what I realized is, because you do your peaks and valleys, right? One, I couldn't afford therapy, 365 days a year. Two, I don't think it's healthy to have therapy 365 days a year. You got to do the work, right?
Hmm.
I wasn't looking for somebody to be my crutch. I wanted someone to give me homework.
Yeah.
And that became my way of interviewing therapists. I got
Okay.
really, really good at knowing somebody that I could fluffernutter right? Fluffernutter means they're
I
going to
love
let
that.
me sit in my pile of poo poo and go, my God, you won't believe what happened to me. And week after week, we're going to have fluffernutter stuff, which is ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
I could pick that person out in a New York second by
Yeah.
the way that they interviewed me on the first visit. You know, you go for the first visit and I'm sitting there like, oh, this is going to take me 6 weeks to tell her my history, because the history
Yeah.
is always the hard part. I almost
Yeah.
wanted to start bringing like a history resume and sending
Okay.
it ahead of time. Like,
Yeah.
here's
Yeah.
all the stuff, right? So because you're wasting, I know you've got to get the basis for where I'm at, but
Mm-hmm.
I had already reached a point where I just wanted to work. Give me the
Yes.
homework,
Yeah.
So I began to ask that question. Is
Yeah.
our relationship going to encompass homework? Because I don't want this to turn into a poo session.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want it to
Yeah.
be, yeah, I've got to tell you what's going on in my world, and I'm going to be honest. Because if I'm not honest, right,
Yeah.
who am I hurting?
Yeah.
So, but I think that's very difficult for people when they begin that journey of, especially when it's traumatic therapy. Trauma
Sure.
therapy is different than marriage therapy, of course. So when people begin that journey, often, and I've got people that have asked me about this, they're like, how can I ever say the stuff that I went through? Like, I don't want to say it out loud to somebody,
Okay.
but that's the magic.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the magic, and I'm like, it's like the doctor, like, performing a colonoscopy. He sees butt all day long. Yours is no different. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
a good therapist is not going to sit there and go, oh, wow, that's so horrible. I can't believe that happened to you. I
Yeah.
had about 4 of those in my lifetime. I fired them immediately.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not therapy. You know what I
No.
mean? So but
Yeah.
when you can find someone that you feel safe sharing your story with, boy, that's just such a huge part. That's really the beginning, to be able to say it out loud. And what a relief it is to not be carrying around all that, grief, sadness, shame, whatever it is.
I was going to say, as well, Anne, though, with you wanting to do the work and kind of, moving forward and getting the homework, did that actually give you the time to really process what was going on? Because I
I
know
did.
that when I was in my 30s, I was like, I'm healed. I've listened to Tony Robbins. I've done this exercise. I've done that. I'm absolutely fine now. It was only when I got to my late 40s that I realized that I hadn't processed the feelings that
Right.
I'd had as a child, and I literally just smothered them over like peanut butter, not a
Yeah.
fluffernutter, a peanut butter
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
surface.
Sure.
Everything was fine, but actually my behavior and my thoughts and my feelings were not fine. And I didn't know that until my daughters had held the mirror up to me and said, actually, that's not a normal reaction. This is your trauma. And that's kind of sent me packing to a therapist, to be honest.
Mm.
And I had a whole year of it, which was amazing. And I was able to feel, and to be honest, it was one of the worst years of my life, but it was also one of the best years of my life, because by the end of it, I felt like a shiny new pen or a shiny new pin,
Awesome.
because I'd learnt to process that rather than smoothing over, with the peanut
Yeah.
butter or whatever you want,
Yeah.
whatever your favorite spread is.
Right.
So did that time in therapy, did it allow you to process and repair? Because I felt that some of the seminars and workshops I went to didn't repair. What they did was
Yeah.
they smoothed over for a while and then things started cropping back up again.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I did the same. The human part of me went through those peaks and valleys. And it
Yeah.
was like, it was when I sat back and recognized the patterns that I had more clearly. The times that I was doing the best was when I was single.
Okay.
The times that I was in a relationship, I was doing the worst. And I
Okay.
began to realize that the relationship was bringing up unresolved stuff,
Yeah.
and being alone was safer. So I just got more selective with the work that I was doing. And it really hit me very clearly after I got divorced. So what, 6 years ago or so, 6 years ago. So that's when I was like, wow, oh my gosh, look at this pattern so clear. So I mean, you're in your 50s and you're realizing we're never too old to learn about ourselves. We're always evolving and changing, and how we show up in the world and how we show up for ourselves, especially energetically, is largely not only the environment that we came from, but the environment that we keep and the way that we view the world, and
Sure.
it's as simple as if I put on a pink pair of glasses, I'm going to see the world with pink. If I put blue glasses, I will see blue. So what is up here is how I see out here. And that just really, that, I mean, massive transformation in the past 6 years. It was just, and when I decided to write my book, I once again knew you better get yourself a trauma therapist and have somebody on your team because you're going to be diving back into some stuff that I know enough that to not go in the pool alone.
Yeah. Fantastic. And
Yeah.
that's a level of self-awareness that some people don't have.
Yeah, yeah. And I don't look at it like, I mean, healing, all these words that we throw around, survivor, victim, I don't do it. None of that. That's not
Yeah.
forgiveness, just a ridiculous word. In the context, the human part of the context to me makes zero sense. The being part to me, 100% get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
And sometimes it's difficult to get to that level of being because we're such human doings, and
Correct.
we use materialism and we use consumerism as a kind of vehicle of deflecting away from
Yep.
being a being.
Yep.
Um, some are forced into beings, which is great. And I think being on your own, as I've experienced long periods of being on my own, there's an element of growth there because you have that time, and that is so precious. That alone time, that peace time, where you reconnect to yourself, and
Mm-hmm.
you can do the reading,
Yeah.
you can do the work. There's nothing on in the background, and
Yeah.
you have that peace to do it. And a lot of people don't have that.
Right. Yeah. I wouldn't trade that.
No.
I wouldn't trade that. There's a lot of people that don't understand the level of solo that I do.
Yeah.
And I would never have been able to do the level of solo that I do right now 30 years
Hmm.
ago
Yeah.
because I was too dependent. I was walking around carrying a measuring stick and I was like holding it up to everybody else and holding it up to myself, going, do I measure up? Do I measure up? Do I measure
Yeah.
up?
Yeah.
Like, ridiculous, and my happiness depended on somebody else. Well, if they were happy, I was happy. Well, if they
Yeah.
were making me happy, I was happy. So I was just walking around. It's just like this little ridiculous robot, like, please, somebody like, let me plug into you because I have no energy on my own. And it was just,
Yeah.
I look back on it. I'm like, man, thank God you didn't die. You know what I mean? You'd have missed out on so much amazing stuff right now. And
Absolutely.
being
Yeah. And I
able
can
to be
resonate.
alone, like, you've done it, you're doing it, right? Being alone is such a gift. It is
Absolutely.
such a gift.
Yeah.
You know?
And I think when you separate from others, that then helps you to connect to self. And that's when the real stuff comes up. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And now that is very different from loneliness.
Absolutely.
Loneliness is an incredible epidemic right now. Like we have, it is to ridiculous portions. Suicides are at an all-time high.
Yeah.
I read an article recently about older men over the age of 50,
Yeah.
like one of the highest suicide rates. I mean, that's just
Really sad.
wow, and I've recently watched a study about a year ago. I saw this study done on men and their friendships. And the majority of men do not have a best friend, somebody that they feel they can confide in. They don't have support.
Yeah.
And that's just, that's that loneliness. Same with women, even in my own community, as I'm out walking, I'm meeting people that are just starving for attention and
Wow.
just really just like, wow, I'm so disconnected. I really don't know how to make friends,
Wow. Yeah.
and that's just so tragic, So when we spend time alone, it's in the sense of like, for me anyways, rebuilding, you know, bringing my strength up, protecting my peace. And then when I go sit at someone's table, I'm bringing all of me,
Yeah.
versus I'm, broken and alone. That's very different, you know?
Absolutely. And I think also it helps you and enables you to give back to
Yeah.
others because your presence, your energy helps others, inspires others, helps them to connect as well, and probably heals them as well. I'm definitely
Yeah.
into energy exchange. So when you're in a healed place, you can help others to heal themselves as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. You know what? I try to show up as the person I wish I had had in my life when I was younger. I really
That's really
do
weird you
wish.
say that.
Oh man, because
Yeah.
I remember sitting there just feeling so alone and
Yeah.
so desperate, and that my story was so riddled with shame and self-hatred and lack of self-worth that if anybody had stood up in front of me and said, "I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been here." Not in my pile of poo, but I have been in a pile of poo.
Yeah.
And this is how I got out of it. Man, I'd have worshiped that person like,
Yeah. And it's
yeah.
so strange you say that because just an hour ago, I was looking at something on social media, and I don't know if you see it in these guys go and give people notes, and one of these notes that to total random strangers, and one of these notes said, "You are the person that the child version of you needed now," and I was like, "Oof, yeah,
Yeah.
powerful stuff," and it's true. The
Oh,
more you work
definitely.
on yourself,
Most definitely. A long time ago, I learned to, and this is not always easy to do, but when somebody is really acting inappropriately or somebody is really, and this, especially in the airport, um, I began to look at them like 7-year-old children. And if you really do that, if you can really get yourself to do that, you're going to see them clear.
yeah,
You're going to see
yeah,
them clear because we all have a 7-year-old child still, right? That 7-year-old is still here.
yeah,
And that 7-year-old child was not getting something
yeah,
or was feeling a certain way. And that doesn't excuse poor behavior. I don't mean it in that context, but
no,
sometimes it does help when somebody is really just acting in a way that you're like, what the heck is going on? Like I used to get very, very matter of fact. I had to be right.
okay,
Well, my 7-year-old had to
yeah.
be right. The oldest of 8 kids, right? So that
Oh,
dynamic,
wow.
when you're
8
the oldest of
children.
8 kids, you got a certain personality.
Yeah, yeah,
I got that personality.
yeah.
So my 7-year-old was in charge of a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, a baby.
Gosh.
So I was already at 7 years old, I was very well parentified, right?
Yeah,
So was finding myself in my adult version of me being that 7-year-old.
yeah,
So once I recognized that about myself, I began and try to do it. I challenge you, the next time you're around somebody that's just acting how you feel like, wow, something's out of sorts here. Something is inappropriate going on. What is it?
yeah,
Try to look at the 7-year-old in them,
yeah. It's amazing, isn't it?
or the
It's
4-year-old.
really
You might have to
yeah.
digress.
No, I love that actually because I can actually see it, and I think it's my gift from my childhood that I can see that almost instantly in people as well. And there's one particular person that I know quite well, and I almost see. I used to sit and watch her, and I could almost see her transpiring from the adult into the child, into the parent, into the ego, into all of this kind of thing. And it must have been a childhood trait that she'd learnt to develop to get her needs met. And
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, this must be the 5-year-old. This must be the 7-year-old. Yeah. This,
Yeah.
this is the mum. This is the dad. It was really interesting.
Fascinating.
Um, it is. And because I'm an analyzer, and that's one of my gifts from childhood, is that I analyze everybody and everything that moves basically or breathes.
Mm.
And yeah, so I can see people changing constantly.
I
Um,
love that. I love that. And that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. I don't know if you've studied, it sounds like you probably have, the human design. And
hmm,
when I first did the human design is amazing. And
okay.
I think just Google, because I'm drawing a blank. There's a book. I read her book,
Yeah.
Human Design Chart. right? Just Google that
Okay.
and you'll
Yeah.
find several different people in there. But basically what you're doing is you're taking people, there's 7 different designs, and you're understanding which one that you fall into. And as
Oh,
you're reading all of these different descriptions of people and where they may fall, you're understanding people a little bit better. So
okay.
like what you just described to me, you are like one of my sisters, very much the analyzer.
Yeah.
My personality is vastly different. And I think it's important that we as humans accept the differences that we all embrace and the beauty that you bring to the table. So my sister is really, really good at making great decisions.
Okay.
So I just make them.
Yeah.
I'm a manifesting generator. That is my human design. And
Okay.
manifesting generators, we just get stuff done. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
I cannot be bothered to analyze Jack.
Yeah. Yeah.
So my sister, very helpful to me when I need to make a decision like buying a car. She's like, okay, da, 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 looking at all this. I'm like, I just want blue.
Yeah, it's really interesting because I worked in car sales as well. So yeah, I understand what we need, when
I
we buy
was your
this
dream
car.
person
Yeah.
because I show up, I'm leaving with a car. I don't have time.
Yeah,
My
brilliant.
sister will take 6 years to buy a car.
Well, I've done the research before I even get there.
She does too.
I'm like, I know exactly which one I need. That
I
one,
just
thank
want
you.
blue.
Yeah, there you go. That's easy. No,
But,
I'll have to read
we're
that
fortunate
book.
to have people like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
You
We
know,
all
can
bring
you
something
imagine
different.
putting your investments with someone in the financial world like me? Just put
Yeah.
it out there.
Oops. Yeah, my fear of that would be like, is it in the right place? How is it going to cope? Da, da, da,
Yeah.
da. So I would
Yeah.
have researched it all before I actually get there and go,
Right.
okay, it's that one
Right.
now. But yeah,
And that's
in,
likely why I actually got my securities license and my life insurance license. And it was because somebody thought I would be really good at it. And that was back in the day where I felt like everybody else was way smarter about Anne's life than she was. So I believed him. I said, oh wow, he must be right. So I
yeah,
went and got these license and I'm sitting there and I'm like, oh, there's no way I want to be in charge of this. Why
right.
would I ever want to advise anybody, how to protect themselves in case they die? Shouldn't they already know this? Like,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then why would I ever want to take their life savings and put it in something that there's no guarantee?
absolutely. Yeah.
I couldn't be that person. So
No.
I didn't last in that arena. But you know what? I recognized my human design without
Yeah.
really knowing there was one.
Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? I'm going to
Very
have to read
interesting.
that book, I think.
We
And,
have our strengths and it's important that we embrace them. And we also acknowledge people that have different strengths,
definitely.
you
Yeah.
know?
I think acceptance is something that on a spiritual term that that as you grow and you learn, you get to a place of acceptance. And it's quite difficult to get there because things come at you and yeah, and things happen for you to learn from and to grow from. And life can be very, very difficult and people can be very difficult at times as
Mm,
well and trigger certain aspects. And I think once you've learned that and learn how you're triggered and get to know yourself a little bit more, then you're more accepting of people.
right,
But
right,
I think it can
right.
be difficult for some people to attain
That's
that
hard.
level. Yeah.
It's really hard too, especially if you're coming from a place, when I began my journey, there was a lot of drugs, there was a lot of alcohol. I was having a very rough time. And when I made the decision that I wanted a better version of me and I wanted to be a better mother and I wanted to just be a better human being, that meant that the environment that I came from had to change.
Sure.
So all of those people that were in my world,
Yeah.
gone. And
Yeah.
I just literally wiped the slate. And I know that sounds very cold, but I had to make that decision because if I didn't do that, I would have
Yeah.
never left that environment.
Yeah.
And I think that's really hard for us when we don't want to see somebody as potentially toxic to our life. And we don't want to see our loved ones as infringing on our boundaries of peace. But there comes a time where you have to make the decision that, I'm only in this life once.
Yeah.
I am only going to be in this body for a short amount of time. Was I put on this planet to condone behaviors from others, or was I put on this planet to do something incredible?
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
And I think that comes down to your value base as well. If your values aren't aligned with others that are around you, then you see them as toxic and they're not good. And you
Yeah.
have to remove that out of your life if you want to then progress and move forward. And you sound to me like you're a progressor and you like to move forward and you've still got a lot of life left in you, Anne. So what's for the future? What kind of things are coming up for you?
I mean, I still like, this is a passion for me, sharing my story. I wrote my book for that reason. Um, to really help people see that, one, there's two parts to that. One, if you're living in trauma or you have been in trauma, you don't need to stay in trauma. You can move on, right?
Yeah.
Let's move forward. But also, if you've never experienced that, it still is very helpful to understand how others might be operating and to not
Yeah.
be so full of judgment, because I think our world is really very easy to judge people, and we're all humans, so we all catch ourselves like, wow, wait a minute, that was judgmental, like I need to think about that for a minute. So really passionate about sharing my story, speaking, and being able to share the tools that I was so blessed to discover that I know work.
Yeah.
um and I'm doing that as I travel. So
Oh, fantastic.
I'm not from anywhere. And I realized I never was from anywhere.
Yeah.
I drew my first breath in Florida. I was placed for adoption. 4 months later, a family got me, scooped me up, and I lived all over the place. And that
Wow.
never left me.
Okay.
I'm very adaptable. Part of my
Yeah.
trauma, either become adaptable or you die. What do you
Yeah.
choose?
Yeah.
Adaptable is my choice. So I can live anywhere. I can be alone anywhere, and I will be perfectly fine. So that is where I am right now. I am no longer in a box. I sold my box, referring to a house,
Yeah.
last July. I was like, why do I have a box? Why do I have a box full of stuff?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm on a treadmill working really hard so that I can put more stuff in the box.
Okay.
Where's the box?
Yeah.
Now I'm stuck with a box that's on a piece of land that's in a one spot. And
Mhm.
I'm not a one spot person. So I
Okay.
sold that, got rid of everything. I don't have the box or anything in it anymore.
Oh,
Actually, they
wow.
did such a good job that I had to go buy shoes because I donated all my clothes.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So now I just live very, very intentionally every day.
Okay.
It is such a freedom.
And where do you actually live then? Do you live in a house?
I'm renting a place right now.
Okay.
So I've got
Fantastic.
like
Yeah.
actual air conditioner, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But I also bought a tent, and
Oh,
I
wow.
love to car camp.
Yeah.
I also get on a plane and travel I just got back from Portugal in
Yeah.
February, and, Canada hiking. I mean, I really am a very nature person. So wherever I go, there's nature behind it.
Yeah.
So
Fantastic.
I'm mobile, I mean, obviously I have a car, so I'm
Yeah.
able to really just wake up and say, you know what, I want different weather. I want
Yeah, yeah.
different trees, and just go live.
Yeah.
Go
What an
live.
amazing place to be.
Feels good.
Yeah. And if you've never been to Andorra in the Pyrenees in France or Spain, it's right on the border. I went there last year for 2 weeks and it's pure nature. It's absolutely
Ooh,
stunning. Yeah.
nice. Thank
Put it on your
you.
list.
I
Yeah.
will. I've been to both France and Spain, but never explored that part of
Yeah.
it. So thanks for
For
that.
me, the Pyrenees are the most magical place in the world. So yeah, it's beautiful up there
On my
and
list
brings a
it
lot of
goes.
connection as well.
Ooh, perfect. That sounds like a great place for a full moon.
Ah, there you go. It is. Well,
Love
it's
it.
been great having you on the show today, Anne, and thank you for all your inspirational chat because I think it can help a lot of people in the audience.
Yeah.
And it's been great having you here and meeting you and learning all about you. So thank you for
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's been wonderful chatting with you too. I love that you do what you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for being here and for choosing to be part of this journey today. I believe that together we can create a community where women uplift, support, and empower one another. If this resonates with you, don't forget to subscribe to my podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you'd like to connect more deeply, visit my new website, Coffee Chat, etc. If you feel that you have something you would like to contribute to future episodes, then let me know. You can join our Facebook group, Inspiration, Coffee Chat, etc. And please remember that I aim to create a safe and supportive environment for our listeners. But it is important to reiterate, some of these episodes may cover sensitive topics, including discussions around adversity, trauma, mental health, violence, and sexual references. These subjects may evoke strong emotions or trigger responses, and I urge you to seek support or professional help if you're affected by any of them. I want you to leave feeling inspired, motivated, and empowered. For now, it's a see you later, and have a great day wherever you are in the world.